Hey team, it's Scott from Bartlow's Barbecue, and today we are unboxing the Kamado Joe Big Joe 3, and I am so pumped. If you've been following my channel, you saw the video, I sold all my Kamado Joes. And if you're new to the channel, be sure to check that video out and have a link right there. But essentially, I sold all my other Kamado Joes, my Classic 2, my Junior, so that I could make some renovations to my backyard and also create a barbecue studio and then save up so I could get the Kamado Joe Big Joe 3. And I go into full details on that video. But today our agenda is gonna be unboxing this, do a little fast forward and show you how we put this thing together. Then I'm gonna highlight the key features of the Big Joe 3. If you're new to Kamado Joe, that might be helpful for you, just kind of highlight some things. Then we're gonna phone a friend. I've got a special guest from James from Smoking Dad BBQ, is a friend of mine, and we're gonna ask him a few questions. And then we're gonna do a first burn, and that'll conclude our video, but stay till the end because I have a big question for you I would love to get your input on. So other than that, let's get right to it. Hey team, well, let's walk you through the unboxing and the assembly, and then I'll show you on the screen from yesterday when I put this together in a fast forward motion as we talk through it. So the first thing is that we took the box off from the crate, and then I set up a 6-foot table to kind of lay out all the boxes that it came with. You'll see all the styrofoam, and it's well insulated and well put together. But essentially what we did is we started with the base and the legs per the instructions. There's obviously 4 legs, and this is the top plate, this is the bottom plate, and we started with the top plate by installing the 3 bolts that it comes with, and we put them in all 3 spots, loose enough in all 4 legs so we can get them all installed and then tighten them. Move to the bottom plate where you can store your heat deflector and your slow roller when it's not in use. And it does help to have 2 people to make it go faster. And then we installed these wheels, and it also has all the instructions right there, makes it easy to screw it in and then tighten it, and make sure that you have your locking mechanisms on your 2 front legs facing the front of the Joe. And obviously the front has this Kamado Joe on it, or it's on the back as well. Once we did that, we moved everything from the inside, all the ceramic pieces out, and all the other pieces to make it at its lightest form before we lifted it. You want to lift, you have 2 people, you want to lift from this section here, the ash opening, and then your airlift hinge from the back. And then obviously use your legs and not your back and lift up and into this base. I didn't capture that on footage. And then once you did that, then we can work on the inside. And from the inside, which we'll show you, you won't be able to see it all as I'm talking right now, but we started from the inside with putting the ash tray on the very bottom, then the firebox base on the very bottom. Then we began to add the firebox little pieces that go around that makes the firebox. And then from there, you can add the firebox ring. And then after you do that, I like to add tissues. If you have trouble getting them all these little petals put together, you could put paper towels, crumble it up, put it in the back of the petals, and it kind of pushes everything forward, and it'll burn away after your first few cooks. And it'll just help it stay in place. Once you get the firebox ring installed, then it's up to you on what cooking method you're gonna do, using the slow roller or the divide and conquer system, using heat deflectors or direct grilling. Because what you could do is just sit your slow roller on top first, and then your divide and conquer system sits on top of that from there. Or you could take that off, and then this just sits on top, and you are ready to go for 3-tier cooking. So let me walk you through here in a moment just more of the highlights and show you more of the details that I like about this so far. All right, team, let's talk through some features and some things that we really like about the Big Joe 3. Obviously, the size, it's a 24-inch cooking surface on the grill grate. That is going to be amazing, going from 18 inches on a Classic 2 that I've been used to, and the Joe Jr., especially for the past few months. So I'm really excited about just increasing that so I can also do more cooks, bigger cooks, and even do more formally do some catering on the side occasionally. So that is one feature that I'm loving, is the 24-inch grill grate surface. Then obviously you got the slow roller and the divide and conquer 3-tier cooking system. Let's start with the divide and conquer system. It also comes with an accessory rack, and then I also purchased the smokeware drip pan that you can definitely check out if you're not familiar with that, and that's a great addition, but does not come with this setup. But you're able to use this accessory rack. Let's see if I can get it in here. And then you're able to use it for multiple things. So if you want to cook chili or something like that, we can set this up right into the holes that it goes in and set a pot right in there and not use the grill grates. Or if you're doing low and slow, you could use that second row and then slide in your smokeware drip pan, throw your meat on top, and then put this in place on top of your slow roller. Or if you want to use heat deflectors, your heat deflectors just slide in on the bottom here like it was intended to before they added the slow roller, and those are on bottom. But I'll show you a shot from the other day of me putting this in here, and then you just sit it right on the ring, the firebox ring, and then that would be all set to go for your divide and conquer system. Now, again, another feature is the opportunity to do reverse searing, multi-level cooking with vegetables and all that fun stuff. And literally all you got to do it's pretty straightforward. Literally, you can just slide this to the bottom rack, just like that. And you can throw a heat deflector on this side, do indirect cooking, whatever kind of protein you're doing. And then if you're ready to sear, you crank up the heat and move it at this bottom grate here. Literally, there's just so many options. If you want to do your pizza a certain way or double indirect cooking like James from Smoking Dad, you got some options and getting creative, but I want to mainly show you the divide and conquer system and the three level cooking. That's going to come in handy so much. Can't wait to utilize that. And then obviously the slow roller. So you put this inside of your ring, and then you lift your divide and conquer system on top of that, and then throw in your protein on top. So those are a few cool features. I love that the Big Joe 3 comes with this new base with a Classic 2 for so many years. Having a spot to put your storage for your slow roller when you're not in use, or your heat deflectors is a great bonus, or just other accessories that you can fit in there. And then obviously it comes with your ash cleaner, and then your grill grate grabber right here to make it really easy. But these are a few things that I really enjoy about the Big Joe 3, and I think I already talked about the airlift hinge, how nice that is. Makes it so easy to control, and you're able to tighten this if you ever find it gets loose from back there, or if you ever have trouble shutting it, then you can adjust the knob here, and there's a little screw under there that you can loosen to tighten that if you have issues. So overall, that highlights the key features of the Big Joe 3 that I'm seeing and I've been anticipating receiving. So now we're going to go to the next segment and continue on the video. Well, hope you enjoyed some of the key features that I was excited about on the Big Joe 3. Now it's time to hear from a special guest, James from Smoking Dad BBQ. He is a friend of mine and we chat often, and I asked him recently, I said, hey, would you be willing to give me and my viewers on my channel some tips going from a Classic 2 to a Big Joe 3. I've been cooking on a Classic 2 and a Joe Jr. for over 5 years, and now I've never had a Big Joe, so I just wanted to get some advice from him. And if you don't know him, I'm sure if you watch Kamado Joe videos, you know who he is. He's got a great channel, so check it out if you haven't seen James yet. But I definitely want to make sure those that watch this channel and you're curious going from a smaller ceramic to a Big Joe, to hear from him what tips he might have, especially around charcoal, how much you might put in there, and he's learned doing hot, fast, low and slow or direct grilling, and how much charcoal he has used, and things that he's learned using a Big Joe compared to the Classic or a Junior. So let's hear from James and see what he had to say.
Hey Scott, let me be the first to congratulate you on moving up to my favorite model in the Kamado Joe series lineup, the Big Joe 3. And compared to the Joe Jr. that you've been doing some cooks on lately, you might notice a slight size difference. So I mean no disrespect to the Joe Jr., as it's my second favorite Kamado Joe in the lineup, but that is a transition into what I wanted to share with you, is just adapting to the extra space. And so a couple things just to help illustrate the space and the size difference, because hearing 13 inches to 18 inches for the Classic or 24 inches for the Big Joe, it can be hard to really appreciate what all this space means. And so a couple of the things that will help bring this home is the optional grid extender on the Kamado Joe Big Joe is the entire real estate of the Kamado Joe Classic grill. So if you add this accessory, you're growing a Kamado Joe Classic on top of your Big Joe, which is already 50% more square inch real estate on your divide and conquer rack system. Speaking of the divide and conquer rack system, the other reason I love the Big Joe, and I think you're gonna love it too, is you get so much more space out of the accessories. So the same things, whether they be soapstones or dojos or jotisseries, there's versions for the Classic as well as the Big Joe, but I just find the space to be that much more usable on the Big Joe. Here's a quick illustration of the Big Joe soapstone, then I'll lay on the Kamado Joe Classic soapstone, and then lastly the Joe Jr. soapstone. So you get an idea here of just how much more real estate you're getting in a half grid. Either of these sizes are plenty enough to cook for a family. When you start dividing the grids in half, this is where the Big Joe really shines. Speaking of accessories like the grid expander, I'll also mention the jotisserie gets a lot more space. So gone are the days of ever needing to worry about fitting on a large turkey. In fact, you will get 2 sets of forks if you happen to spring for the jotisserie for the Big Joe, meaning you can do 2 birds, or you can do a bird and a steak all side by side. And because the extra real estate is so large, there's an opportunity to rake those coals around and fire different spots of whatever it is you might be cooking, which is not only a lot of fun, but it just helps really dial in that flavor profile that you're looking for. So what else can you expect moving from the Junior or Classic to the Big Joe? Well, there's a couple of things. So the first thing that I was just naturally worried about is that this big grill would use way too much fuel. And so I did a test a couple years ago where I filled my Big Joe up, lit a fire, and ran it at low and slow temperatures. And to my surprise, it went 56 hours, way longer than I was prepared to keep recording that video. So it is still incredibly efficient. In fact, I took the charcoal basket from the Joe Jr., so just that amount of charcoal, and did a cook, and you can get about 6 hours of low and slow cooking out of the quantity of the Joe Jr. basket. So it is still remarkably efficient, although you will use a little bit more charcoal in the ignition phase. And so for lighting your grill, this is probably the biggest difference between the Big Joe and the Classic Joe, is the time that it takes to come up to temperature. So how can you make this the same? So one, if you're using fire starters, just double them up, do 2 starters, and you will get up to temperature much quickly. Or if you're using one of my favorite, and I know you love it as well, something like the grill gun, you're able to get this up to temperature, going from adding charcoal and cleaning it out to cooking in about 23 minutes is what I average. And so this is not far off what I used to be over a decade ago when I was cooking on a propane grill. So those tools will really make the Big Joe usable for things like a midweek cook, where maybe you just want to do something, you know, for the family. So my final words of wisdom just come down to temperature control. So the Big Joe, I think you'll find, like I found, this is the best breathing Kamado I've ever used. I don't know if it's the Series 3 being 4 inches taller, the slow roller, or just the extra size here being a 24-inch grill. But this is a well-oiled machine when it comes down to the airflow department. And surprisingly, the vent settings that you're familiar with are nearly identical on the Big Joe as they were on your Classic 3. If anything, you're just going to be about 1/8 of an inch less on your control tower top in order to hit the same temperatures that you're used to. I can't wait to see your first few cooks and follow along for the ride and see if it quickly becomes your favorite grill, just like it is mine. Thanks for having me on, and we'll see you soon.
Well, thanks, James, for that amazing tutorial and tips on going from a Classic to a Big Joe, and I especially loved your illustration of the Joe Jr. inside the Big Joe. Man, that was fantastic. So appreciate your tips and helping me and also our viewers as they're considering these options. Now it's time to fire it up, and then we'll have our final words. Well, hey team, we are about to fire it up, and in between segments, I realize I'm able to roll this Big Joe 3 through my door. I didn't think I would be able to, but I was able to remove the side brackets that hold the shelves and was able to get it right through the backyard after I did the majority of this video. So that's how we got from the garage back here and then back to the garage for our final conversation. So today we're going to be using some Kamado Joe lump charcoal, and we are going to be using the Grill Blazer grill torch to fire this thing up and then just let it run for a few hours for our first burn in and just kind of get it going. And again, if you are not familiar with the grill gun, I have 10% discount for you if that's something you're interested in. It's such a fun tool, but it legitimately is lighting up your charcoal in 1 minute, and it just saves you some time. So definitely check that out. But today we're gonna load the basket full, fire this puppy up, and as I'm talking, you'll see what that looks like. And then we're just gonna let it run. We're gonna open up the vents and let this get up to 250 to 300 degrees and just kind of let it run for a few hours and just get our first burn in. And after that, we'll go on to our next segment to finish this off. Well guys, I hope this video was helpful for you on the Big Joe 3 unboxing and assembly, highlighting some features and even giving you a few tips from James. Again, if you had and saw value in this video, be sure to subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, you know exactly what to do. And if you love all things Kamado Joe or you're intrigued and you want to get yourself prepared, definitely check out my playlist on Kamado Joe tips and tricks to get started. And let me know what you think one of my first 2 or 3 cooks should be. By the time I post this video, I'm probably gonna go ahead and cook a few things just because I can't wait to get cooking. But let me know in the comments what you think I should cook and put on the channel soon. I would love to hear from you on this. And again, if you are a barbecue family and friend and you just love all things grilling, be sure to spread the word about Bartlow's Barbecue, because I love your support and appreciate you guys always watching. So be sure to fire it up soon and let me know in the comments what you thought about this video. And from my backyard to yours, less hate, more love, good barbecue. Till next time.